This year, unlike any other year, I can appreciate Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, as a guide to staying connected, staying in touch, when we no longer have access to our most real and gratifying ways of being together. As we read the instructions for the priests, it may seem like roasting special ritual meals to send fragrant smoke signals to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is an odd way to feel connected to the divine. But to the ancients, it would seem like a very odd ritual indeed for people to meet in front of a computer screen to share happy hour, or for congregants to listen to video recordings of Torah readings and a Dvar Torah online, as you are doing now, to stay connected this Shabbat. Yet all these rituals are designed to create a feeling of connection when we can no longer touch, hold, or be held by the one we long to be with. At this moment in the Torah narrative, as we read Vayikra, the Israelites prepare to leave Mount Sinai, where Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh literally camped among them, appearing by day as a cloud covering the tent of meeting, and by night as fire. The presence of the Lord filled the tabernacle throughout their journeys. Yet in the days, years, and millennia to come, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh would not have that same immediate presence, would not be living so palpably among them, would not be giving us signs and miracles like the parting of the Red Sea. So this third book of the 5 books of Moses, that's the spine, the central axis of Torah, begins with the words, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh called to Moses, beckoning him to the tent of meeting. Vayikra el Moshe, Vayedaber Adonai, Elav, Me'ohel Moed Lemor. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh called to Moses from the tent, a beckoning that conveys the intimacy of their relationship. Their intimacy, experienced on Mount Sinai, that made Moses' face glow on his return to the people, is now offered to the Israelites. God says to Moses, "Speak to the people and explain to them the precise rituals through which they can come closer to me." Of course, the very next lines detailing how to offer animal sacrifice are as likely to turn the modern reader away from these instructions as they are to beckon us near. And if the idea of animal sacrifice does not offend you, then the endless details and impossible to understand distinctions among the various offerings may drive you crazy if you try to understand what the differences actually are or why it matters. I think we need to find a different, metaphorical way into appreciating these rituals. Think of a time when you and your family prepared to host a special meal. You invited someone special, perhaps an elder in the family, or the new in-laws you have never met, perhaps a visiting dignitary or a leader in the community. Did you or your parents have any rituals that had no rational explanation, but you just learned them, and maybe you're still repeating them? This is the set of dishes we use. This is the special care we take with the napkins. This is the special way we prepare the food. We may grow up with these rituals and then find ourselves repeating them for Passover, for Shabbat, because this is how we maintain the connection. And as we set the table with care and arrange the food with more attention than usual, these special rituals put us into a state of mind, a quality of awareness that brings us into a different dimension from everyday life. Reading Vayikra, we find that the painful details of taking an animal's life are for us off-putting. However, many of us have hosted barbecues and special meals made from animals whose lives were taken without any ritual or attentiveness. Undoubtedly, to take so much care and attention to how one takes the life of another living creature puts one into an altered state, perhaps feeling the awesomeness of sharing that power that's usually in the hands of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh to bring about that transition from life to death. The priest feels the power of life and death in his own hands, feels the warmth and wetness of the life blood. And the person who's offering the sacrifice, Adam ki yakriv, draws near, comes close, brings the animal right up to the opening of the tent. Yakrivenu el petach ohel moed. The person brings the offering right up to the entrance of the tent, the entrance into this other dimension of existence in which there is intimacy with Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. What is that dimension that we seek? In modern times, scientific knowledge, such as tracking how a virus spreads, makes it impossible and indeed quite dangerous to believe that illness and health, life and death are entirely in the hands of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, and that all we need to do is pay attention to our rituals that connect us with God. It feels in many ways that our fate is in and on our own hands, quite literally. We seem to know so much more about how and why people live or die, and yet, at the center of it all is the same mystery as always. The people who defy medical predictions, the deaths and the survival stories that take us totally by surprise. It's often said that we no longer offer sacrifice, but our prayers, as a way to use ritual to reconnect with Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the unfolding of being. But how does that happen? How does chanting a prayer, sitting together in shul, or sitting together in virtual space create that intimacy? Contemplative practice and the refined concentration of someone who has a prayer practice brings us into greater intimacy with the present moment. When we are no longer thinking about what is going on, when we are no longer distancing ourselves from being in the moment through inner commentary, when we are instead being with whatever is unfolding in this present moment, bringing our full awareness to whatever is arising, we approach intimacy with Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the unfolding of being, the reality that guides us. We cannot will ourselves into this experience of intimate connection. We can only set up the conditions to facilitate it, day after day, week after week. We still need some rituals, whether personal, idiosyncratic ones, or traditional rituals from our parents and teachers, to help us prepare to set up the conditions for intimacy with whatever unfolds in each moment. We still build sanctuaries and meditation halls whose construction may be guided by tradition, to hold us, to create space for that encounter with the divine. Today, we create this shared space virtually, using the materials we have, not copper, silver, and gold, but technology to create the space to hold us. And just as priests mediated that connection through their special training and ritual practices, so today we mediate that connection for each other, as each of us contributes in our own way, making offerings of recordings, offerings of support for each other, offerings of our presence by attending virtual events. Though we cannot all gather for this first Aliyah, I invite you nevertheless to come closer to experiencing our connection to each other and to the unfolding of reality in each moment, as we listen to these first words of the Aliyah, Vayikra el Moshe, come to the tent of meeting, Moses. For all of us seeking connection at this challenging time, may we receive the blessing of intimacy with the present moment from these ancient words of Vayikra.